Welcome everyone to another top 10 most expensive Pokemon cards featuring the EX Deoxy. This set came out in the early 2000s and let me tell you, it holds some of the most expensive Pokemon cards that are in the TCG community for Pokemon. You're going to be surprised as to what some of these prices are, and let me tell you, you will be surprised at what some of these prices are. If you want to see a set or a Pokemon in itself featured in next week's top 10 most expensive, please make sure you comment down below what set or Pokemon you would like to see in next week's top 10. Now, don't forget to hit that like button if you could be so kind, and also go ahead and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet as well. And when all said and done, let's get into today's top 10 most expensive featuring EX Deoxy. Coming in at number 10 from this set is going to be the Gyarados Reverse Holo with the Deoxy stamp on it. Remember, if it doesn't have the stamp on it, then it's not going to be worth as much as you see here. This card is going for $33.90 with a PSA 10 of $588. This card's most expensive time was back in October of 22, going for $50. And the least expensive this card was way back when in February of 21, going for $14.45. Coming in at number 9, we have ourselves the Deoxy EX. This card is already, we're in the $40 range almost, going for $39.71 because that 1 cent is so vitally important. With a PSA 10 of $1,600. PSA 9.5 drops drastically by $1,300, which to me is insane. The most expensive this card was way back in January of 21 at $112.50. RIP if you paid that price, because this card's price is nowhere near that now. And the cheapest this card was back in June of 21, so pretty close after that substantial price increase, down to $20.37. At number 8, we have ourselves the Rayquaza Reverse Holo, going for $45 with a PSA 10, going for $755. PSA 9.5 drops drastically by about $600. The most expensive this card was back in March of 21, going for $57.66. And the cheapest this card was right before that of February of 21, going for only $17.56. So within a month, it shot up about $40, which is pretty crazy. At number 7, we have ourselves Deoxy EX again. This one's number 98. This card is going for $52.47 with a PSA 10 of $676.66. The most expensive this card was way back when in January of 21, going for $103.50 with a low price of $26.66 back in August of 23. At number 6, we have ourselves Deoxy EX again, number 97. What was this one? 98. Wait a second. 99, 98, 97 we're on now. Deoxy EX 97 is going for $62.12 with a PSA 10, holy cannoli, of $2,736. A PSA 9.5 drops drastically about $2,200, which is nuts in my opinion. The most expensive this card was back in December of 22, going for $89.20. And the cheapest this card was back in July of 21 at $26.41. At number 5, we have ourselves Rayquaza, number 102. This card is going for $76.60 with a PSA 10 of $1,725. PSA 9.5 doesn't drop too bad, but once you get a PSA 9, you lose about $1,500 from a 10. This card's most expensive point was back in November of 22 at $116. And its cheapest point was pretty recently, back in April of 24, going for $47. At number 4, we have ourselves the Rockets Ryukyu EX, going for $77.57. This card's PSA 10 price is going for $1,319.39. with the PSA 9.5 dropping by about $1,100. This card's most expensive price was back in February of 21 at $125, and its cheapest price was back in February of 23 at $58. Now, before we get into the top 3, of course, we have to give out the honorable 5 mentions. Cards that were expensive, just not expensive enough to make the top 10. At number 5 of the honorable mentions goes to Gyarados number 8. This card is going for $27.53, but let me tell you, this card's a beautiful looking card. PSA 10 is going for $652.16 with a PSA 9.5 drop of over $500. The most expensive this card was pretty recent, back in March of 24 at $33.89. And the cheapest card this card was way back when, in January of 21, going for only $7.50. Number 4 of the honorable mentions goes to Linkttree, but I'm drawing a complete mind fart on how to say his name, so I'm just going to leave it blank before I butcher it even more. They were going for $27.99 with a PSA 10 of $382.86. It drops from PSA 10 to 9.5, and you lose about $270. This card's most expensive point was pretty recently, back in April of 24 at $38.11. With the cheapest this card was back in October of 22 at $17.50. Number 3 honorable mentions goes to the Jirachi Reverse Holo, going for $28.49 with a PSA 10 of $431. PSA 9.5 drops about $300. The most expensive this card was back in June of 21, going for $44.38. with the cheapest this card being back in April of 22 at only $15. Number 2 of the honorable mentions goes to the Space Center 10th anniversary. This card is going for $30 with the PSA 10 of $399.99, so $400. PSA 9.5 drops about $340 in cash. The most expensive this card is recently at $30, where the cheapest this card was back in February of 24 at $27.50. And the number 1 most expensive card in the honorable mentions goes to Salamanca. Salamence EX. This card's going for $32.54 with a PSA 10 of $860. PSA 9.5 drops about $660. The most expensive this card was in June of 22, going for $65. And the cheapest this card was back in October of 22 at $19.67. Now it's time for the top 3 most expensive EX Deoxys Pokemon cards. At number 3, we got ourselves the Latias Gold Star, going for $372.91 with a PSA 10 of $12,613.51. And yes, the 9.5 drops drastically, about $9,000. That's crazy. 0.5 and it's a $9,000 difference. The most expensive this card was in August of 23 at $543.53, where the cheapest this card was in June of 21 at $127.71. Now for number 2, we have ourselves the Latios Gold Star going for $556 with a PSA 10 of only $4,000. The PSA 9.5 drops only about $1,500, which is still a lot, just not as crazy as the Latios. This card's most expensive point was back in February of 22 for $567.50. And the cheapest this card was back in May of 21 at $214.13. Now remember, after we go through the top one, I'm going to go over the booster pack and booster box to tell you if this set is better to collect individually or to try your luck with the packs. At number 1, of course, we have the Gold Star Rayquaza going off a $1,000 for an ungraded card. Over $1,000 for an ungraded card. PSA 10. Oh boy. It's a down payment on a house right there. It's going for $32,550 with the PSA 9.5 dropping it about $24,000 to only $8,832. The most expensive this card was back in September of 22, going for $1,602. And the cheapest this card was back in December of 21, going for $707. Now it's time to see how much a booster pack of this set costs. And a booster pack is going for only $656, with the PSA 10 booster pack going for $1,226. The most expensive this booster pack is actually current price at $656, with the cheapest it being back in July of 21 for $430. Now, if you're going for those heavy hitters and you want to collect the uncommons and commons, it might be okay to buy a few packs before you start buying the singles. But after like 4 or 5, just start buying the singles, because the price is still insane. A booster box, though, costs $33,100. There is no PSAs of this. The most expensive this box is actually current, where the cheapest this box was back in February, so very recently, February 24, for only $9,500. If you bought this for $9,500, you just made an insane profit. Like an absolute insane profit. Unless, okay, somebody apparently bought this for $250, which I find that hard to believe, but you never know. So that is the price of a booster box. And that concludes today's top 10 most expensive Pokemon cards featuring EX Deoxy. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to drop a comment down below letting me know what set or which Pokemon you would like to see featured in next week's top 10 most expensive. Don't forget to hit that like button, and if you're not yet a subscriber, go ahead and try out being a subscriber. Membership options are available as well, where members get exclusive perks at winning free Pokemon items. Now, if you don't know the saying, let's go ahead and teach you, and if you do know it, go ahead and say it with me. Let's make Hollows great again, and as always, keep poking on. Until next time, everybody, peace out, and have a great day.